So Paul and Shaun and I decided that this would be a really good opportunity to launch our new Urban River Toolkit too. The Urban River Guidelines, which Shaun mentioned before, Paul put those together in about 2010, which, to put that in perspective, was 2 years before Trout and Dirty Places was published. So it was quite a while ago now, and we've all learnt a huge amount in the intervening almost 10 years, and we thought we'd pull it together into an update, which was so expansive that it does indeed justify being called a toolkit. So here it is. I see that a number of you have already picked it up from the back of the room. There are about 20 copies, I think. So if we start on a basis that every group represented here gets one, and then start from there, we ought to get a reasonable distribution. So, how does that work? Just a quick recap, really, of what Trout in the Town is all about. WTT obviously exists to inspire and help everyone to look after their rivers, primarily for the benefit of trout as the kind of indicator species. If trout are doing well in a system, then so everything else will be too. And the Trout in the Town project has spun off out of that as a project to help people look after their nearest urban stream, improving river habitat, educating everyone about the value of urban rivers, and just getting people more involved in their local environment. Rivers, as I don't need to tell any of you here, urban rivers in particular, are a tremendous resource for urban dwellers. They're great blue-green spaces. They provide cultural inspiration. They're great for mental health. Everything about them is wonderful. And in particular, this project seeks to give people a stake in their river, give them a sense of the importance of the place and how they can relate to it and be an important part of it, rather than just an urban river being a nasty, dirty, dangerous eyesore. I think we all know and feel that. So, yeah, just to recap a bit, here's the Urban River Toolkit. Lots of hands-on practical advice for running urban projects, 98 pages, no less, count them, of tried and tested strategies and materials for sorting out your urban river, designed to inspire everyone to look after their urban streams. So I'm just going to give you a quick gallop through what's inside the toolkit. Introduction on how to use it, citizen science stuff, obviously including helpful links to Joe's urban river surveys and so forth, and ideas for important and engaging projects. Governance roles and responsibilities. This was the sort of thing that really beefed up the content of the toolkit, I think, because I started thinking, what are the things I would have found really useful to have known when I started working on the Wandle, and having an awareness of what these different structural governance models were, so that you can make the best of who you are, form the best structures and relationships for the future. This is important stuff. And also as much advice as we can sensibly give about insurance and safeguarding and data protection issues, and then of course health and safety, which has developed hugely over the last 10 years or so. After that, there's a chapter of best practice on organising events, so cleanups, fairs, community days, that kind of thing. Communications and marketing, particularly how to deal with social media stuff. We've already mentioned some of that today, I think. Funding and fundraising, that's a kind of evolving field. You sometimes find cash in the river, literally. That's a handful of money, I think. That was a photograph I took on the Wandle after we'd found an old safe, one of many that had been dumped in the river. And some of our more enterprising volunteers crowbarred the front of the safe open. It had already had the back of it blasted out before being dumped. But in the process of grappling it out of the river, we'd heard a rattling inside and decided to have a closer look. So I think that was about £3.49 in a sort of loose change. There are other fundraising strategies, and this toolkit will tell you more. Also, advice on common problems and how to deal with them, including fly tipping, invasive non-native species. That's a particular favourite subject of mine anyway, by dint of necessity as much as anything else. Getting the right permissions to work on your river, and then just as importantly, how to do project monitoring well. And that's one of the appendices, which is a particular focus from Paul, in fact. And then something which I'll just give you a quick gallop through shortly. The idea of becoming a Trout in the Town chapter is an idea which I think we originally adopted it from Trout Unlimited in the US, and it's something that had gone slightly into abeyance. So after this conclave and after the launch of this toolkit, we'd like to get that back up to front of mind again, to encourage people to get involved in this really kind of helpful, inspirational network that you guys are all representing here. And then finally, galloping towards the end of the content, we've got some case studies from successful urban river projects. So Southeast Rivers Trust, which is the current enlarged incarnation of the Wild Trust, which is my particular baby. We have a very good case study from Phil at Friends of the River Worth, and then Catch, the group in Wincanton, who we've been mentoring for a number of years. And then finally, lists of other resources, stuff we can do to help you. Some final thoughts, and then appendices at the end. So this, Paul and I thought would be really helpful to provide sample constitutions, worked through ideas about risk assessments, because out there on the internet there's a lot of stuff. You Google risk assessments, for example, you get several 100,000 results back, but we thought it would be useful to provide stuff that we know has been tried and tested in the environment we're working in here. And then some other useful stuff like ARC, the Association for the River Kennet, has provided a manual which they've written on yellowfish, which is a project to mark gully pots and other sources of diffuse urban pollution, drains going straight into rivers. Useful consultation questions, and finally the monitoring thing again. So back to this idea about becoming a Trout in the Town chapter and accreditation. Ideas about becoming officially recognised as part of this inspiring movement. And we've put together a kind of escalator of tiers of accreditation. So the first one we've identified we call first contact. So probably most people here will be well beyond this anyway. But this is at the stage when you've just had your first WTT AV, you've got a project leader identified, and broadly speaking, you've got a river that you're looking at that's suitable for trout, subject to probably quite a lot of improvements. Next level up the ladder, bronze level, so you've got the basic stuff from first contact, and then you've started to develop a committee structure, you've got bank accounts, you're adhering to some of our best practice standards, which we think is important. You've got a volunteer workforce, and you're developing the relationships that we suggest with your local Rivers Trust, the council, environment agency, and other sort of important local stakeholders. And there's a lot of detail on that and our recommendations in the toolkit too, so you're not flying completely blind here. Then in terms of activities, for the bronze level, you'll have started to organise community river cleanups, for example, and you'll have started to develop a social media presence. And then as you go up the ladder, we get up to the silver level. So you've got wild trout population either becoming established or possible, subject to some particular improvements that you or we could help you identify. Your water quality is improving. By now you're giving us regular activity updates, so we can help you to promote your activities across social media and our newsletters, and in the wider media. And you're doing stuff like riverfly monitoring, and you've got now good working relationships built up with your local partners. Activities like citizen science, you've got a standalone website beside your social media pages, and you're dealing with other issues like invasive species and your first river restoration projects. And then finally, this is the top tier, which I think organisations like Mersey and SERT and possibly a number of others of you here will already be at. So congratulations, straight in at the top. We may have to create a platinum level, in fact. You've got a self-sustaining wild trout population there, and you're still working on fish passage issues. Governance-wise, you're top tier, and you've actually got to the level where you're having to have audited accounts. You're doing education stuff, a wide range of citizen science things. You've been delivering real river restoration physical projects, and you're working. And this is quite important as well. And some of you are already doing this. I think the brew crew, for example, the catch guys, are already working to mentor other local trout in the town groups, and that's a valuable development and resilience thing for our collective future, I think, because I at least have a vision where almost every little town on every little river, or big river, big town has their own trout in the town community group looking after it, and assisting the local Rivers Trust, who in a lot of cases are covering huge areas and are quite overstretched, assisting with that grassroots engagement and really looking after their river at detail, and that sort of mentoring support network stuff between groups on the ground is going to be really important, I think. You're going to be participating and holding river and wildlife festivals, for example, a bit like the Catch one last weekend for World Rivers Day, and you might even be contributing to organisation of events like these, for which, well, obviously Mike and his team at the Mersey Rivers Trust have given us huge support. So that's a quick canter through. As I said, I see some of you have already got your toolkit from the back of the room. The way we've set this up, it's a free digital download which should be live fairly shortly from the WTT website, if it isn't already, and you can download it, I think, in various configurations, so either as a full book or as chapters. And then the appendices will be a separate download, because we think we may have to want to update the appendices more frequently than we'll want to update the whole book. And then, thanks to Paul and his insights from the digital publishing world, we've worked out a way that apart from the free downloads you can get from the website, we can provide you with a print-on-demand service for the hard copies. So if you go to Amazon and search Urban River Toolkit, you'll see the design of the front cover come up identifiably, and you can simply hit the button and buy a hard copy for $15.99 from Amazon. The presses will thunder away in Poland, I think, and you should have a copy on your doormat within sort of 2 or 3 days. It's an astonishing service. It's really, really good. And just at a sort of practical level, it gets it to you faster than it might get to us. Will it get to you from us if we had to print a lot of copies and then hold them in a garage somewhere and do a weekly fulfillment run? This is almost instant for you. So we hope it'll work really well. So yes, just special thanks. That's Wandle Ale. Special thanks to the Environment Agency for funding this project. Everybody who's lent photos. I can see quite a few people in the room who've helped us with that. Those who wrote and provided us with case studies, our designer Rebecca Hawtrey, and Paul, Shaun and Denise for all their support. And that's it. Any questions?